Okay, councillors, let's resume. We're going on to all the reports for information. Now, most of these are to be noted. So before I treat them in globo, isn't that a great word? This as a new Armidale Regional Council in 2016 and undertook to repeat the survey 12 months later in 2017. The good news is that we achieved a 24% increase in overall the rating of where people gave council a good or very good response. Now, it needs to be acknowledged that that's coming off a relatively low base, and certainly my view is, and the view of management is, there's still a lot of work to do in this space. But the results of the second survey were a significant improvement on the original survey. All 8 areas that were measured achieved a positive improvement, and some of the key areas was that we were performing very well in were our recreational facilities, the ease of access to service, informing the community, and a well-run and managed council. So as I mentioned, still a lot of work to be done. Councillors will note the community charter that was just approved. That's another piece of work that's important in this space. I think it's important that we each year get this feedback from the community and use it in our forward planning. So that's an overview, Mr. Mayor, of 13.3. Thank you, Mr. CEO. 13.4, I asked the CEO to speak on this primarily because there's a couple of items in there that I'm questioning whether they should be reports to council. So I'll just hand it across to our CEO. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So 13.4 is our delivery program, which councillors will be aware is a key part of our integrated planning framework. It's council's 4-year plan under the community strategic plan, and this is our 6-monthly progress report. Just to draw out a few items, there's been significant work by council officers in pulling together work in our sustainability area. That was presented to councillors as our green print, and it's being presented to the Environment and Sustainability Committee meeting this evening. The Community Strategic Plan strongly reinforces working in that sustainability space. So I think it's an exciting area for council, and the green print is a great vehicle for working with the community across about 8 areas in terms of sustainability. So that work is very active. I will note that I've been working with the service leader, Ambrose Horman, in this area, and I've signed off on a sustainability officer, which will help in working in that space and help in supporting the Environment and Sustainability Committee. So that's an important initiative. And that was done by rejuggling internal resources within the organisation to make room for that. Another key area in the delivery program that's been achieved is a lot of work in disaster management. That's an important area for council, and how we work with emergency services in an integrated way to be ready to respond when there's disasters. And I think another area which has had a fair bit of focus that we talk on in this report is enterprise risk management. It's a critical tool for councillors and senior council staff in allocating priorities, whether it's capital works, prioritisation, or where we spend the scarce resources we've got. So understanding the risks that we've got, and I acknowledge the work of the service leader, governance in leading that work, and making some really strong foundations that will also be coming to council via the Audit and Risk Committee, and we had a meeting on that this week where it was recommended that we bring that piece of work to the Audit and Risk Committee for their consideration. It's a key part of audit and risk, which is broader than just financials, but that risk management. So certainly council officers look forward to working with the audit and risk, and then following that we counsel on that work. So there's some foundational piece of work in that delivery program which is really important, the sustainability, the disaster management and enterprise risk management. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
And lastly, I'd like to ask the CEO to talk about the last 13.7, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and this is in response to what was a tragic incident, and we need to recognise that, the death of a little girl in Jimeric Creek. We've been working very closely with the coroner on this matter, and he recently handed down his determination. We are fully supportive of the coroner's outcomes and fully committed to meeting the requirements, which from a council perspective were twofold. One was around signage, and I've approved the signs that are attached to the paper, so they can be put in as soon as possible, and also initiated work on cleaning out some of the Typha and Kumbungi in that area of the creek close to the playground. More importantly, council have carefully considered the longer term implications, and it was one of the triggers for the broader Jimeric Creek Master Plan, and so that's an opportunity to work with the community on the long-term master plan for that creekland. So I think that's a really exciting project, and if you link that with the mall and you link that with the Smarter Cities work we're doing, I think brings together a broader city revitalisation. The Jimeric Creek Master Plan is a complex piece of work because it needs to be mindful just not only of what the community's aspirations are for that area, but also needs to take into account flooding and hydrology, which is a key issue on the creek, public safety, as highlighted in the coronial inquest, and also the longer term contamination issues, which have been an issue down in that area of the creek. So the master plan very much picks up and was very useful when we were talking to the coroner about this, that council is very mindful of developing a long-term strategy, and hence I think we avoided things like having to fence off the creek and things like that, which was, in my view, a good outcome. So we're taking the coroner's request very seriously. We're active and very proactive in addressing the requirements handed down. And the Jimeric Creek Master Plan will be an incredibly valuable document in being enabling us to be more shovel ready as a council for future funding applications that come through. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Just one question to you, Mr CEO. When does this, the Jimeric Creek Master Plan, when does that whole process start?
We've engaged the consultant. We had the inception meeting last week, I think, or the week before with the consultant, and so it's underway, and we're imminently about to move into community consultation.
Great, thank you. Now, are there any questions on any of those items 13.1 to 13.7? Councillor Gray?
I'd like to request a correction on the professional development attachment. For the 7th of November, it has me recorded as being absent, and I was actually present at that one.
Yeah, on 13.73, Mr Mayor, to the CEO, I thought that you might have added a part C that council undertake the urgent works as detailed in the report and that a budget be allocated. I think that would really show our commitment in relation to the matter, but I can ask you to do that, or I'll do it when we get to it if you like, it doesn't matter. But we're not talking big bickies, but we're showing the community that we're serious about doing what the coroner indicated we ought to do. Thank you.
Councillor, I'll get the CEO to respond to that, please.
Thank you, Councillor Tiley, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the budget is able to be used with existing budgets for signage and parks and gardens. So, yeah, we've reprioritised a bit in order to get this high priority work done, but it's embedded in our existing budgets.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have.
Councillor O'Connor?
I just had a couple. I noticed in relation to the Creekland Master Plan, you've got a pretty tight community consultation process. So could you perhaps explain how that's going to happen? Is that going to be part of the Community Connect, part of the shop front?
Councillor O'Connor, that's not on the noting, that's the only issue. We're talking about the inquest, so that'll be down in the future, I should suspect. So it might be best if you keep your questions until later on down the track.
You mean at another meeting, Mr. Mayor?
At another meeting, yeah. This is the coroner's report and what we're doing about it. It's the Dwayne Creek Master Plan.
I'll take your ruling because I've got a lot to say about some things, but I won't say it here. Thank you.
Any other questions? So I'm going to put this in globo. In other words, we're going to move that all 13 section is treated as one. So could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
I'll move it.
Councillor.
I'd still like this council to make a statement in 13.7 that we will undertake the urgent works as detailed in the report. I think that sends a strong message to the community that we're serious about it. Yeah, okay, so I'll move all 7 with that additional part C on 13.7 that council undertake the urgent works as detailed in this report.
Yes, and that's moved and seconded.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Tyler, I think you've spoken to it already, so it should be right. Anyone wish to speak against any of these motions? Councillor Robinson?
Well, I just wondered if we could actually add another point or half a point to 13.4, and 13.4 is that the 6 monthly report on the delivery programme be noted. And I wondered if we could add to that, and that the 12 monthly delivery report focuses on tangible outcomes and how they will have or will be achieved, or how they have been or will be achieved.
Did you get all that? Hang on.
Yeah, I can speak to why I think that is important, if you like.
Just before you do, I think if you could just repeat what you said so everyone can see it, please.
And that the 12-month delivery report focuses on tangible outcomes and how they have been or will be achieved.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that is the expectation of the report anyway. I think it's very, very much the intention of the progress reports is to update not only councillors but the community on progress against the delivery plan, and hopefully in reporting that it is reflecting those tangible outcomes. So I don't know what we'd do differently to what we're doing anyway, Mr. Mayor.
Now, I'd just like to, I can give you a quick example of the problems I had with the 6 monthly report and maybe how it could be improved in the 12th month, if that's okay with you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, well, one example I had for the existing report was, for example, E1.1, which requires us to identify environmentally sustainable practices that could be implemented within council's operation. And I happen to know there were lots of wonderful things that this council has done that weren't mentioned in that report. For example, The runs on the board include expanding City to Soil to Gyra. That was a wonderful thing that's not mentioned in the report. The return and earn. That wasn't mentioned either. And it fits exactly into that bill as a wonderful run on the board. Another thing was the community recycling facilities that was opened by Adam Marshall. And finally was those $360,000 solar panels that we've put on council's buildings, which are going to save us a lot of money and also save the environment. And I thought these were the sort of runs on the board that we should be listing in, rather than just simply saying, as in the current report, that we're planning to make future plans. And when we have achieved things, we should, like these, we should be saying them. And when we haven't achieved anything tangible, other than planning to make plans, we should put that as, you know, as what we're likely to do and how we're going to do it in the future. And that's why I thought it would be useful to just put that, because of the problems we've had with the 6-month report, have it in the as part of the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. I personally think that's not a bad move, and I applaud you for remembering all of those small things that council's been, or big things council's been doing that are very favourable. So we've got 2 changes to all, and anyone wish to speak against any of these changes or any of the motion, the recommendations? All right, well, I'll put them in globo. Those in favour? Those against? Thank you, carried. We're up to 14.1. Councillor Bailey, Councillor Gletley. Gletley. I hadn't even read out what this was. This is the Councillor Graby granted leave of absence. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Bailey, do you wish to speak for the motion? Anyone speak against? Okay, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Sorry?
Is Councillor Gray allowed to vote on that?
I'm not sure there's a conflict of interest to her sitting here about that decision. Anyway, we're up to 16.1. These 16.1 to 16.3 are reports from the business, from reports from various committees. First one is 16.1, which is the Business Advisory Committee, and there's 4 points to that, as up on the screen.
That
Councillor
report,
O'Connor,
because they're all operational matters and they're not matters for council decision, and the same applies to the others. Well, I wish you luck. Okay, but in relation to this one, I think we should be saying that the recommendation be noted.
Councillor, you turn your mic off, please, Councillor Tiley. Yes, but Councillor Robson. Councillor O'Connor.
Well, I have one question and one point of agreement with Councillor Tiley. The first question is, is it possible to identify what the rail trail consultation report is?
May I answer that? That's the report that's still coming from the New South Wales Government, the Premier and Cabinet. It's still coming.
So that's the DPC report.
Yes, and it's
still pending.
It is still pending. I got a word from the local minister this morning to say that it is still not out.
Right. Okay. Well, I would support Councillor Tiley's suggestion that we just note them, and that might resolve in a bit of a row that could ensue in relation to item 16.2, subsection D. Because I think that's something that's just so contentious, and the current wording of the document is that we adopt that recommendation. Please don't make us do that. But I'm very happy. But I don't want to be seen to adopt it. So I'm quite happy, Councillor Tiley and everybody else, to note it.
So how about we just
adopt.
move? This is on the books as for decision. So let's go through the process, please. So Councillor O'Connor, will you turn your mic off again, please? Thank you. Oh, so can I get a mover and a seconder for 16.1, please? Councillor Gray, Councillor Robertson. No, he's a no.
As we amend, I think the amendment that we're trying to get to is that we remove the word adopt and adopted and replace it with the word note. Be noted, sorry.
And for future council meetings, Mr Mayor, we only get recommendations that are for council's consideration. We don't need all the housekeeping that they go through.
Point noted, Councillor Tiley, but I will ask your indulgence, thank you, Councillor O'Connor, to proceed with what we have in front of us, and then I'm hoping the staff will then take that on board in the future. So we have a mover and a seconder for this. Any person wish to speak? Councillor Gray, do you wish to speak for it? No. Any speak against it?
Excuse me, has it been changed?
Noted. Yeah, change that.
What? 60. Can we just have all of these noted rather than adopted? That's my motion. I think it's supported.
Yeah, and
However, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor Bailey wishes to be different from that. So that's what I'm saying to do today. We just do one at a time and we deal with them. So we have 16.1 on the table. We have a mover and a seconder. Do we have anyone wish to speak against it? Otherwise, I'll put it to the vote. Councillor O'Connor.
I wish to speak against it because I would like the word noted to be inserted where the word adopted presently is. And for the reasons that, as Councillor Tiley has so eloquently explained, it's not a matter for us. We just need to see it. We don't need to make a decision whether we adopt it. I think we just need to see that it's happened. And that's the most uncontentious way for us to get through these items on the agenda.
Okay, I've been advised that we should change change that word adopted to noted. So let's do that. We crossed done. So that will appease people. So those people in favour, those people against, carried. So that will, I presume, be the case for 16.3 as well. But 16.2, Councillor Bailey wishes to be different in this. So before I raise 16.2, may I mention that dot point D has been superseded because of the Merrill Minute. So if that's the case, can I please have a mover and a seconder for the 3 points, A, B and C. So mover please. Councillor Gillespie, Councillor Gray. Councillor Gillespie, you wish to speak for? No. Right. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Bailey?
Is it?
I'm concerned that point C is something that we felt very firmly about, and I've done a lot of research out there, and everybody was in favour. Now, does that mean that every time we do a committee report, if there's a recommendation, that we then have to go forward and put a notice of motion for every council meeting? I mean, I just think that's very cumbersome. Surely we could adopt the 1, 2, and or A, B, and C. And if you don't like a recommendation, we delete D. But to me, that's, you know, C is a very important point because Acacia Park could be a retirement village for the average person who wouldn't know what it was. But by changing it to a business park or an industry park, we're indicating to them that we are interested in them and we are trying to showcase the place as something that is worthwhile.
Councillor Bailey, you're speaking against A, B and C being presented to council. It's been moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Gray, as is, except for part D.
But is it adopted or has it been noted?
No, in left it's adopted. This is the one, as I said, is being adopted.
Righto, thank you. I understand now, simple-minded, yep, thank you.
So is there anyone wish to speak for the motion? Councillor Tiley?
For the benefit of all chairs, when you bring your reports to council at Acacia Park, for example, that council change Acacia Park's name too. Bang. That's a matter for council's attention. Part D is the opinion of your committee. They're unanimous in the matter. So if you want the council to do something, that's the way you word it. That council do such and such, and then we've got to consider it.
Thank you, Councillor Tiley. Councillor Bailey, I think we're on a learning curve, so we'll take that on board.
I'm happy to move an amendment to see that Acacia Park's name be changed to Acacia Business Park and that council take steps to effect this. Are you happy with that? All right, I move, and you can a second? Sorry.
So, Councillor Connor, just say it again slowly so that we can type it in, please.
All right, I'm sorry. I forgot. Accidentally started cheering. That the Acacia Park's name be changed to Acacia Business Park and that council bring this into effect as soon as possible.
Are you happy with that change, Councillor Gletley and Councillor Gray? Good. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Robertson.
Bring it into effect.
All right. May I put that, if there's no one wish to speak for it, can I put that to the vote, please, as is? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, Councillor, 16.3, that we have changed the word adopted to noted. Please note that. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Gilletley, Martin. Any wish? Councillor Gillett, do you wish to speak for it?
I'm very happy, thank you, sir.
Anyone wish to speak against? Okay, I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Now we move into the closed session. So I'd ask...
Mr Mayor, could I seek your indulgence for a couple of minutes before we do? I'd like
Yes.
to say a few words.
You might be better sitting down. Sorry, Councillor Tiley, just that...
No, I'd like to stand on this occasion, if I may. I rise to pay tribute to our departing CEO, who leaves us on the 20th of March, and to bid him farewell, and I do that in the capacity that I have of initially employing him, coming to know him as a great operator and a good friend, and I've made just a few notes. I value his leadership in his time that he's been here. His support has been great. It's been a pleasure to work with him. In his time, we've seen considerable transformation of this council. That goes without saying. And Peter's held in very high regard by the staff and by this community at large. I know he's off to a new challenge to which he's well suited. Hunter H2O, that's his forte. We wish him well in that endeavour. But some of the things that he's achieved, working in a safer workplace, for example, caring for your workmate, a man of passion. He'll be missed. Go well.
Councillor Tyler, that was very appreciated. Thank you for that. I'd ask closed session